Chosen one, this message is not by accident, and this moment is not random. If you are hearing these words, it is because heaven has already whispered your name. There are seasons when God stays silent, and then there are moments when he speaks so clearly that your spirit recognizes the truth before your mind can explain it. This is one of those moments. You have felt it deep inside, the pressure, the waiting, the confusion, the quiet battles no one sees. You've questioned why the road has been narrow, why the process has been painful, and why the calling has felt heavier than the comfort. But faith was never meant to be easy. It was meant to be refining. God does not prepare the chosen in public. He shapes them in secret. Today is not about fear, doubt, or delay. Today is about revelation. It is time to understand why you were separated, why you were misunderstood, and why your spirit refused to settle for less. What you carry is sacred, and what God is about to reveal will change the way you see your past, your pain, and your purpose. Chosen one, it's time to tell you everything, not to overwhelm you, but to awaken you. Stay with me, because faith is about to make sense in a way it never has before. Chosen one, this message reaches you because faith has already carried you through places that were meant to break you. Long before clarity arrived, belief kept you standing. There were moments when nothing around you confirmed the promise, yet something within you refused to let go. That was not imagination, not coincidence, not emotional strength. That was faith working quietly while the world misunderstood your silence. There were seasons when obedience felt costly. You watched others move ahead while you remained hidden. You questioned why doors closed when your heart was pure, why prayers seemed delayed when your intentions were sincere. Faith does not always explain itself immediately. Faith often asks you to walk before understanding appears. The chosen are trained to trust without evidence, to believe without applause, to obey without validation. Many times you were set apart without being told why. Friendships faded, familiar paths felt uncomfortable, comfort zones no longer fit your spirit. That separation was not rejection, it was preparation. Faith separates before it elevates. God never places weight on a life that has not first been strengthened by endurance. Every quiet tear, every unanswered question, every night you held on with nothing but belief was shaping spiritual endurance that could not be taught publicly. You were not delayed, you were being built. Faith grows strongest in unseen places. When no one applauded your obedience, faith was becoming unshakable. When explanations did not come, faith learned patience. When the road narrowed, faith learned focus. Many would have quit, but faith anchored you when logic failed. There were moments when doubt tried to speak louder than truth. You wondered if you misunderstood the calling, if the sacrifice was worth it, if the waiting would ever end. Faith is not the absence of doubt. Faith is choosing trust even when doubt visits. Every time you continued forward, despite uncertainty, spiritual authority was forming within you. You carry a purpose that required maturity, not speed. That is why the process was slow. That is why the lessons were deep. That is why shortcuts were removed from your path. Faith matures vision. Faith builds character before influence. Faith ensures that when elevation comes, it does not destroy the vessel. The pain you endured was not punishment, it was alignment. Some struggles removed distractions, some losses removed attachments, some disappointments revealed where trust truly lived. Faith purified intentions. Faith stripped pride. Faith taught humility. Faith taught dependence on God rather than outcomes. There were prayers that seemed unanswered, but faith was still working. Some answers came as strength instead of relief. Some came as endurance instead of escape. Some came as wisdom instead of comfort. Faith understands that God answers in ways that protect the future even when the present feels heavy. You were trained to hear truth quietly. Loud success would have distracted you early. Public recognition would have interrupted formation. Faith grows best when roots are deep and unseen. That is why your growth was internal before it was visible. That is why spiritual discernment increased before opportunity arrived. You are not late. Timing has been intentional. Faith aligns with divine order, not human urgency. What is coming requires stability, not excitement. It requires obedience, not emotion. It requires surrender, not control. Faith has been teaching you to release outcomes while holding tightly to purpose. You survived moments that should have weakened you. You endured seasons that tested your loyalty to calling. You remained faithful when quitting would have been easier. That consistency was noticed. Faith never goes unseen by God. Every step taken in trust carries eternal weight. What once confused you will soon make sense. What once hurt you will soon serve you. What once delayed you will soon protect you. Faith connects past pain to future purpose. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. Nothing escaped divine awareness. You are not chosen because of perfection. You are chosen because of surrender. Faith qualifies where skill cannot. Obedience opens doors that talent never could. God entrusts influence to those who learn to kneel before learning to lead. This season is different. Awareness is increasing. Understanding is aligning. Strength is settling. Faith is no longer just survival. It is preparation for movement. The foundation has been laid quietly. The structure has been tested privately. What comes next will require the same faith that carried you through silence. Stay anchored. Stay obedient. Stay humble. Faith will continue to guide steps, even when visibility remains limited. Trust the process that shaped you. Trust the timing that protected you. Trust the calling that has never left you. Today is not about fear, doubt, or delay. Today is about revelation. It is time to understand why you were separated, why you were misunderstood, and why your spirit refused to settle for less. What you carry is sacred, and what God is about to reveal will change the way you see your past, your pain, and your purpose. Chosen one, it's time to tell you everything, not to overwhelm you, but to awaken you. Stay with me, because faith is about to make sense in a way it never has before. Chosen one, there were wounds you carried that no one could see, questions you held that no one could answer, and prayers you whispered that felt too heavy to speak aloud. Pain became familiar, but faith became stronger. What tried to weaken you instead clarified you. What tried to silence you instead trained you to listen deeper. Pain did not define you, it disciplined you. There were experiences you never expected to face. Betrayals that shocked you, delays that discouraged you, losses that forced you to re-evaluate everything you believed about timing and reward. Faith does not promise comfort, it promises presence. Even when relief did not come quickly, strength did. Even when understanding was delayed, peace remained available. You learned that obedience sometimes means staying when leaving feels easier, and leaving when staying feels safer. Faith required choices that logic could not defend. You obeyed without guarantees. You trusted without timelines. You moved forward with incomplete information. That obedience aligned you with protection you did not recognize at the time. Some pain redirected you. Some pain corrected you. Some pain revealed hidden weaknesses that needed healing before elevation. Faith never wastes pain. Every struggle carried instruction. Every setback carried insight. Every disappointment carried refinement. What hurt you also taught you. You were tempted to harden your heart, but faith kept it soft. You were tempted to withdraw, but faith kept you engaged. You were tempted to settle, but faith kept you moving forward. Softness in hardship requires strength. Faith preserved compassion while building discernment. There were moments when obedience felt like loss. You walked away from familiarity. You released expectations. You surrendered outcomes you worked hard for. Faith taught you that alignment is more valuable than attachment. What aligns with purpose lasts. What contradicts purpose fades. You learned to forgive without receiving apologies. You learned to release without receiving closure. You learned to trust again without guarantees. Faith heals internally, even when circumstances remain unresolved. Healing was happening quietly while you continued forward. There were times when your faith was tested by repetition. The same prayers, the same waiting, the same obedience with no visible change. Faith grows in consistency, not novelty. Repetition refined patience. Repetition strengthened resolve. Repetition built endurance. You were forced to confront your own expectations of God. You learned that faith is not transactional. Obedience is not leverage. Trust is not bargaining. Faith rests in character rather than outcomes. God remained faithful even when answers arrived slowly. Some relationships exposed wounds that needed attention. Some situations revealed insecurities that needed healing. Faith allowed exposure so restoration could follow. Hidden pain cannot heal. Faith brings what is buried into light gently, at the right time. You learned discernment through disappointment. You learned wisdom through mistakes. You learned humility through correction. Faith turns failure into instruction rather than condemnation. Growth was happening even when progress felt invisible. You stopped chasing approval. You stopped explaining your obedience. You stopped defending your process. Faith grounded your identity beyond opinions. Validation became internal rather than external. Confidence became quiet rather than loud. There were moments when joy felt distant, but faith kept gratitude alive. You thanked God for strength when answers were absent. You thanked God for protection when plans changed. Gratitude protected your heart from bitterness. Faith kept worship alive in waiting. You were aligned through surrender. The more you released control, the clearer direction became. The less you forced outcomes, the more peace you experienced. Faith works best when hands are open. Alignment followed surrender naturally. You began to recognize patterns, doors that closed repeatedly, opportunities that dissolved unexpectedly. Faith helped you see redirection rather than rejection. What did not align could not remain. What remained carried purpose. Your obedience was shaping future trust. Responsibility requires reliability. Influence requires integrity. Faith was proving consistency in unseen choices. Character was being formed before opportunity arrived. The pain you survived without losing faith strengthened spiritual authority. Authority is not claimed, it is earned through obedience under pressure. You did not compromise values to escape discomfort. You did not abandon faith to ease pain. That endurance mattered. What once confused you is aligning internally. What once hurt you is losing its grip. What once drained you is being replaced with strength. Faith is stabilizing your spirit for what comes next. Remain surrendered. Remain obedient. Remain faithful. Alignment continues through trust. Purpose continues through obedience. Strength continues through faith. Chosen one, there is a shift happening within you that words struggle to explain. Understanding is forming quietly. What once felt distant is becoming familiar. What once felt heavy is becoming manageable. Faith is no longer just something you hold, it is something that holds you. This is not sudden change, but the result of long preparation. You are beginning to see patterns where there was once confusion. Moments that felt random are revealing order. Delays that felt unfair are revealing wisdom. Faith allows clarity to arrive gently, without rushing the heart. Revelation does not come to impress, it comes to prepare. Your perspective has changed. You no longer react the way you once did. You no longer panic under pressure. You no longer chase reassurance. Faith has stabilized your spirit. Stability is a sign of readiness. God entrusts more to those who remain steady when outcomes are uncertain. You have learned to listen more than you speak, to observe before acting, to pray before deciding. Faith has trained restraint. Impulse has been replaced with discernment. Emotion has been replaced with obedience. That maturity did not happen overnight. Some truths are becoming clear without explanation. You recognize what aligns and what does not. You sense when to move and when to wait. Faith sharpens discernment through experience, not theory. What once required struggle now requires peace. You no longer measure success by speed. You value depth over visibility. You value faithfulness over applause. These shifts reveal readiness. When ambition bows to obedience, faith is in control. Your heart has softened in the right places and strengthened in others. Compassion remains, but boundaries are clear. Trust remains, but wisdom leads. Faith balances love and discernment without conflict. You have stopped resisting the process. Acceptance has replaced frustration. Surrender has replaced striving. Faith grows when resistance ends. Peace flows where control is released. You are no longer trying to prove anything. You are no longer seeking validation. Your identity feels settled. Faith anchors worth beyond performance. That security prepares you for responsibility. Some doors will open without effort. Some opportunities will align naturally. Faith recognizes when movement is divinely timed. You will not need to force what is meant to arrive. You are becoming comfortable with waiting when waiting is required. Comfortable with moving when movement is required. Faith removes anxiety from obedience. Obedience becomes a response rather than a struggle. Your prayers are changing. They are less about asking and more about listening, less about urgency and more about alignment. Faith matures prayer from request to relationship. You are recognizing the difference between distraction and assignment. Not everything good is meant for you. Faith filters opportunities through purpose rather than desire. What once felt like silence now feels like peace. Silence is no longer empty, it is instructive. Faith understands that God speaks through stillness as much as through direction. You are being prepared to carry clarity to others without confusion, to offer strength without pride, to lead without control. Faith prepares servants before leaders. The process has built capacity within you, capacity to remain humble in elevation, capacity to remain faithful in responsibility, capacity to remain grounded in influence. You will move forward without needing to announce it. Growth will speak quietly. Impact will follow obedience naturally. Faith does not rush recognition. Remain attentive, remain surrendered, remain faithful. Revelation continues to unfold. Readiness continues to deepen. What has been prepared in you is aligning with what has been prepared for you. Your obedience was shaping future trust. Responsibility requires reliability. Influence requires integrity. Faith was proving consistency in unseen choices. Character was being formed before opportunity arrived. The pain you survived without losing faith strengthens spiritual authority. Authority is not claimed, it is earned through obedience under pressure. You did not compromise values to escape discomfort. You did not abandon faith to ease pain. That endurance mattered. What once confused you is aligning internally. What once hurt you is losing its grip. What once drained you is being replaced with strength. Faith is stabilizing your spirit for what comes next. Remain surrendered, remain obedient, remain faithful. Alignment continues through trust. Purpose continues through obedience. Strength continues through faith.